Hey guys, let's talk about the 1925 solar eclipse. It made the headlines on the front page of the newspapers. The president and his first lady stepped outside to take a look in the sky, and it appeared the whole nation was interested. And even the local weatherman kept an eye on it and recorded a 5-degree drop in temperature during the first 10 minutes of the blackout. Locally, it was reported as the second coldest day of winter, with a high temperature of 3 degrees and the low at 10 degrees below zero. NASA reported the eclipse started 4 seconds late and began around 8 o'clock a.m. on Saturday, January 24. By 9 o'clock, the moon had totally eclipsed the sun. It took no more than 15 minutes for the moon to pass by. And I am sure it was a great spectacle, and of course it's very rare to see, but I did not read of any accounts of biblical proportions or darkness, or things falling from the sky, or dogs barking at the moon. So I'm guessing it was a peaceful time with not a lot of chaos. Because it was so cold outside, I'd be willing to bet that a lot of people stayed indoors and listened to the news accounts of the solar eclipse on their brand new radio sets. I say this because I read countless stories about the United States government conducting multiple tests of the radio waves during the solar eclipse. So, radio broadcasting was in its infancy in 1925. Much like the internet, radio waves and signal strength was new and unpredictable to the average person at that time. Now, the only thing that they did know or believe was that radio transmissions in the evening were clear in the night sky. So, as the days led up to the event, the government in DC planned to study the effect of the eclipse on the radio waves to determine their impact. The Gimbel Brothers, Philadelphia, also reached out to their radio fans, asking them to do their part for their civic duty, if you will. And they asked them to turn in their radios and listen when the station went live on the air during the solar eclipse. Now, what follows here could be one of the first tests of a emergency alert system, because a buzzer signal was played for a little over a minute, and listeners were asked to report if the sound faded or got stronger. The constant signal was used to determine the effect of the solar eclipse on the station. So I'm guessing that when it went black or when the darkness fell, that they were testing if the signal strength improved or got stronger, because of their belief system that radio waves are better and clearer at night. Now, I couldn't find where the Gimbel brothers gave the results of their tests, but I did see that the General Electric Company also ran some tests during the darkness, and they reported absolutely no signal change, no strength change. However, KDKA News, who was in the line of totality, reported that their radio signals did improve during the eclipse. So, keeping all of that in mind, and with the frigid temperatures and the likelihood of people in Franklin having radio sets was high, considering the generational wealth that was passed down to them from all the oil royalties from their forefathers. So it's likely to me most stayed inside. But I'm sure there were the brave souls who stepped out and tried to take a photo or a picture of the eclipse. And if they did that, they probably bought some film. Wilt photography business, I saw it had an ad on Liberty Street that they were selling a special Kodak film for 5 cents to record the event. Now, I also read somewhere else where people were taking the Kodak film and splicing it and cutting it and placing it on their eyeglasses so that they could look up at the sky. While others, I guess, were holding candles and lit matches and a lit candle to an ordinary piece of glass to smoke it, and then they held that up to look at the sky so it didn't hurt their eyes. And from what I could understand or read here, the conditions were almost perfect for viewing, and those who could took to the skies to record it. Planes and weather balloons hovered above New York City, and airships were reported to be aloft over the Golden Gate Bridge in California. Now, nationwide, 25 million people were awaiting this eclipse of the sun. The reported path of this one took a more northern route through Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, New York, and Connecticut. Now, of course, we all know that standing in the sunlight will always cast a shadow. But on these rare occasions, when things are just right and everything is perfect in the world, the shadow decides to strike. I guess when the moon is near enough to the earth to completely black it out. But for the locals, this appeared just to be a uneventful day. I mean, it was reported that they witnessed it, but I didn't see anything of any magnitude. It seemed like there were no watch parties. If there were, they didn't report them. And perhaps they just left all the soothsaying and the fortune telling to the master prognosticator himself. For just days later, on February 2nd, also at 8 o'clock in the morning, the great royal groundhog, the seer of seers, the great high hinky dinky parlez-vous of weather, cast his own shadow at 43 degrees north in 15 minutes. And he reported that the winter weather will certainly keep. So there you have it, folks. This was the solar eclipse of 1925. That's all.